Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Welcome to our City of Keystone Heights November meeting. This is our last meeting for the year due to the holidays. I would ask also for Councilman Brown's going to lead us in invocation first.
Let's all stand, please. Dear most gracious God, we come before you tonight and we just thank you for your many blessings. We pray, Lord, for guidance and wisdom tonight as we do the business of the city and of the residents of the city. We pray, Lord, that you'll be with our servicemen, wherever they might be, and their families. We pray for our first responders, our sheriff's department, Lord. We thank them and we see them going every day to a call. We just pray that you'll protect them and take them home safely to their families. Our fire and rescue also. Thank you for your many blessings, Lord. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. Let us honor the flag.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Ratowski, do we have any public comments?
Call the roll.
Yes.
Roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Duh, I skipped right over. Okay, please call roll for us.
Mayor Rodenroth,
Here.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Hart.
Here.
Councilman Lewandowski.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right. Any public comments?
Yes, first we have Evan Stanley.
Good evening. My name is Evan Stanley. I live at Lakeview, 455 Lakeview Drive, right down the road. I'm speaking today in regards to Ordinance 2023-604. It's my understanding that the purpose behind this ordinance is to try and curb some of the vandalism that's happening in the parks. This is an issue that's very important to me. I live right down the street, at the basketball courts and the pavilion. My wife takes my two sons to the park all the time, several times a week. They have play dates and just go for an afternoon sometimes. So I appreciate you addressing this issue. After reading the ordinance, I think I found a little technicality that I would like for you to address, and a good and a bad idea that I'd also like to bring to your attention. The technical issue is Section 975 states a recreational park includes the related parking areas, and then it has a list of things that are unlawful for any person to do in the park, which now includes those parking areas. Item 5 lists bring a bicycle or such vehicle into the recreational park. If I'm reading this correctly, it sounds like it's not allowing bicycles into the parking lot area of the park, since that's included up in the park. So just want to make sure you would address that or correct my understanding. Next is item 9 on the list. This is the one I have a bit of an issue with. I want to reiterate that I know and appreciate the motivation behind it, but I have to strongly disagree with the proposed solution. This prohibition is nothing more or less than banning kids from the park for simply being kids, not for being disruptive or for littering or for anything other than being under 18. Our parks are for our children, and I think it's absurd to not allow our children to use them. Growing up, I lived way out in the woods. My parents would regularly throw me out of the house and say, "Go outside and play." And so that's what I did with my siblings, and I'm now raising my children here in Keystone, and I'd like to be able to say the same thing. Hey, go outside and play. I want my kids to go to the basketball and tennis court with their friends. I want them to go fishing and swim in the lake. I want them to hang out with their friends around a picnic table. I want them to learn to be independent and self-directed. Where are they supposed to do that and go if their parks are not open to them? I'm blessed to have a wife who stays home, but many families don't have that blessing, or are single parents. Their kids are home in the evenings or in the summer. Where are they supposed to go and play if they can't go to our parks? If you follow the social media pages, or if you talk to almost any parent or teenager around town, one of the recurring complaints you will hear is that there's not enough for our kids to do in Keystone. I've heard it over and over again for years, and this solution would take away what we do have for them to do without having their parents there, which is not always possible. The council raised the issue in the original wording of adult would include teens 18 and older. In the discussion, it was also stated that some of the kids I saw were 18, 19 years old, maybe even older. If that is the age group that's leading the vandalism, and the older kids tend to lead the younger, this new provision won't even apply to them. It was also stated in the previous meeting that the hope is that the kids will, and I quote, stop at the sign and go, well, I don't know anyone over 21. If signs deter bad behavior, then the existing signs prohibiting vandalism would be working. It is my position that the kids who obey signs already are, and the ones who are not obeying now will not be obeying them tomorrow either. A new sign will not stop this problem. And that's what brings me to what is right about the changes, and what I wholeheartedly support is that enabling law enforcement to do their job and enforce the rules. Rules don't matter unless they are enforced. New rules do not stop rule breakers. Enforcement stops rule breakers. When my church was subject to vandalism and theft, we contacted the county sheriff's office, and we regularly saw detectives and patrolmen sitting out there, the parked cars. They parked there during the day, in the evenings. It was regular to see them out there, and that deterred any further problems that we had. I've rarely seen them parked at the parks, and I've never seen them doing a walkthrough of the park areas. I think that should be common if that's where our troubles are. Let's not start trespassing our kids from our parks for nothing more than using them. There are other options that do not harm the majority of our children just because of a few are breaking the rules. Let's enforce the rules we have and make it easier to do that. Whether that's posting the sheriff's office non-emergency number to report problems, or forming a neighborhood watch that includes the parks, or asking for random foot patrols through the parks from the sheriff's office. It's not a constant presence that prevents this. It's a continuous, a common and visible presence. Let's try and get our teens invested in the park by including them, specifically targeting them in community projects to clean up and improve the parks. I thank you for providing for better enforcement, and I respectfully ask that you allow my children and my neighbors' children to enjoy the resources that this community has provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley.
Next, we have Sean Hubner.
Good evening. I have no prepared statement. I'm coming to you tonight to voice my concern about a potential new municipal building here in this area. If in fact this building is in such disrepair and can no longer be repaired and a new building is necessary, I would urge you all to consider not a two-story structure, and definitely not in this spot. I think that takes away from the small town feel, and that moving the courts back behind Hitchcock's is not necessarily the answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Miss Christine Arnold.
Hello.
Hello.
Christine Arnold, 505 Southeast Palmetto. My comment this evening is about the disinformation and information that was shared on Facebook about we have some issues that are near and dear to the community. And I think the solution to the problem would be to fix our city website. The ordinance in question, if a person goes to our city website and hits the ordinance tab, we have 3 ordinances on there. 1 from 2017, 2 from 2022. A lot of the other tabs don't work. Our public meetings don't work. If a person wanted to get a copy of that ordinance so they could read it for themselves, which I encourage everyone to do, so they don't have to go to someone else for information, is now they have to go to the agendas packets for tonight's meeting. It's not labeled, and there are 75 pieces of paper on there. That's the only way, that's the only tab that gets updated besides our calendar. There are all kinds of things. Just get in there and start poking around. Nothing works. You know, we're supposed to be a smart city. It seems like it would start with the city website. And I know we're considering new staff here. Maybe that could be an additional consideration, an extra talent for somebody, a city clerk or a city manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Miss Deirdre Murphy.
Good evening. Deirdre Murphy, 460 Southwest Magnolia Avenue in Keystone. I have two comments this evening. The first is, as a real estate agent, I'm seeing that almost within downtown, in the city limits, almost every single lot is being sold, is under contract, and what that means is that there will be a new house put up there. And with that said, it seems that our density here is greater than if you're out at Big Tree or in other parts of Keystone Heights. And we're still all with septic systems. And I'm just wanting to see if you could, in the future, have a conversation about putting those residents that would like to be on a city sewer, be able to have that option. I know that right now the city has the sewer for the businesses only, and I just think it would be nice if we had an option to have a hookup to the septic, or city sewer. My second comment is about the ordinance regarding the park rules. And while I no longer have young children, I certainly have enough clientele that I tell them, hey, come to Keystone. You can purchase a house here and have your kids run to the park. Just tell them to go across the street, take their bikes. And this is such a great community and such a safe city. And this ordinance would make them have to have a parent with them. And that just seems silly. I understand that we've had some vandalism, and to my great surprise, it's been during the day over at the park, is my understanding, at the beach. But it doesn't seem like all of the kids are doing this in Keystone. There's just a handful of kids, or half a dozen kids. And it seems to me that we are basically reprimanding all children because of a few. And I just, don't see how this ordinance, it's like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It doesn't make sense to me. So I would just hope that you could address the vandalism in another way, and either have a strong show of support from the sheriff's department, or some kind of security, a person in place that would deter this kind of behavior in our parks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Doug Conkey.
Hi, Doug. How are you? Good.
I'm Doug Conkey, 7775 Bay Meadows Road, Bay Meadows Way, Jacksonville, Florida, 32256. I'll be brief, as I know I'm between you and some wonderful downtime to spend with family and friends and enjoy a wonderful Thanksgiving meal and sit back and enjoy the wonderful 2023 that you've had. A couple quick things. Our own very own Rob Bradley was recognized for his wonderful leadership and reappointed for his third term as chairman of the board of the St. Johns River Water Management District. It's a 9-member board that serves a district of 18 counties, almost 6 million people, and 310 miles long, so we're very fortunate for his leadership. I know he's doing great things here in Keystone. Also, November 5th was a momentous opportunity, or an event that has great impact to our conservation. At 0200 on the 5th, we rolled our clocks back. That also means we roll back one day. Instead of 2 days a week watering, we only do it 1 day of watering as we work to conserve the wonderful, inexpensive, high-quality water of the aquifer, of which you are playing a very important part right here. And I was very impressed with Lake Brooklyn as I came down Blanding tonight and saw she has a lot more water in it. So more to come. So thank you so much. Most importantly, I just want to thank you so much for all you do, and wish you, on behalf of the district, a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving, and that's also for Lynn and for Rich as well. It's good seeing you all again.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. John Zeiser.
Good evening. Dr. John Zeeser. I live at 505 Southeast Palmetto Avenue, Keystone Heights. I too enjoy these parks. My children come and visit me about 6 weeks out of the year, and I do love to say, go outside and go play. And they just run over here and they run around. If I ever worry about them, I just sit on my front porch. I do have the option of doing that. I recognize not everybody does. Your first speaker was very eloquent. I really appreciate what he had to say and how he said it. I would hope that you would really tend to his words. He did a marvelous, marvelous job. I also want to side note, being on that front porch, I do get to see things that go on. I don't get to see the malfeasance that goes on because the kids do it down here at the beach. You had some very good and interesting solutions. But there are some things I do see. Yesterday I did see a boy who was crying. I had a chance to go there and say what was going on. We had a little talk, and he, just so that you guys know that there is prying eyes, not just myself and Christine who do see. We do have phones that do call. There are other people that do come by and they do check. We do care about our parks. And I hate saying so I'm just going to go ahead and move on here. I do see teens using the basketball and tennis courts. Some of them in the summer months, they're there till midnight. You can hear them screaming profanities, not that I mind, shooting hoops. They can't see the hoop at all. It's dark. The lights are off, but they're out there playing basketball. They're having a great time. The tennis courts, I believe you have a couple of young lads. I would say tweens, definitely maybe sophomore in high school. They play tennis. They come down here very rarely, 2-3 times a week. They play tennis. They mind their own business, and then they go home. Under the new ordinance, they wouldn't be able to do that thing. The building here, understand on October 5th, the building here was so dilapidated, the roof leaks, lights don't work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was on Clay today. I just ripped the roof off a 1926 home, Deb's Store. Feel free to look it up. Deb's Store project by Lift Jacks. They have funded the project there to completely restore the entire building in its entirety. I know I said that twice. It included a new roof, electrical system, plumbing, etc. We can go on and on and on and on. The point remaining, you don't need a whole new building to rip off a whole new roof. You can rip off the roof, rip off the membrane. You find the bad pieces of plywood, you pull that off. You find the rafters, pull that off. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, you're done. Probably $100,000. If you do need to go higher, you do an engineering study, check your footers, check your walls. Maybe you can go higher. Maybe you can use different materials, wood, etc. to go higher. Your lighting, you could be replaced, pull the old ballast out, put in LED strip lights, change out your switches to modernized switches. Wiring almost never goes bad, ever, at all. If it doesn't work, it's the switch, it's the ballast, it's the lights. That's where it goes. To tag on to what Christine was saying about our county website, or city website, your minute tab is non-functioning. Under our minutes, which everybody has talked about ad nauseum, infinitum, section 286.1011-2 FS, Florida State requires that minutes of a meeting of a public board or commission be promptly recorded and open to public inspection. Workshop meetings are not exempt from this requirement. One of our workshops was November 8th. It is still not on our city website at all. Because the term promptly is not defined in the statute, it should be, and I quote, should be construed in plain and ordinary sense, which means in the Webster's New Unabridged Dictionary, year 2003, defines prompt as done, performed, delivered at once or without delay. November 8th, today, that's definitely not prompt, and we are definitely not in violation, or definitely not in accordance to our sunshine laws. Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Next, I have Miss Peggy Dash.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Peggy Bach. I live at 6574 Woodland Drive, Keystone. My biggest concern is the park and the basketball. I heard in the last response, Ms. Chris, that you had apparently made a comment about High Ridge. The children in there. Have you ever been to High Ridge? Is one question. Has anyone actually been to the park to try to interact with some of these children that are down there? I've got to know most of the teens for the last 3 years down there, and I work with these kids. I literally will go down there with my fishing pole. I will sit with these kids, and I've got to know a lot of these kids personally. A lot of them are from broken homes, but you know what? Most of the vandalism, you know where it's coming from? Mainly right here in town. There's one boy that actually lives on the beach. His grandfather owns the place, and he's came a long way. most of these kids, they don't have family to go back home to. Like the one gentleman said, the basketball hoop, that's where they vent at. That's where they get to fellowship with one another. We actually have prayer time over there. I'll meet the kids either at the beach when they see me, hey, Miss Peggy, how you doing? If they're over there cussing, if they're cutting up, they see me coming, and they're just like, oh, you better zip it, you know? And so they're really good. These kids are really, really trying. Our park is a safe haven, actually, for them. And if any of y'all ever want to just have fun and ride back there behind Hitchcock's, everybody knows who's actually out here on these streets. That's not a good place. Y'all wouldn't want to be back there. You wouldn't want to sit back there and have a picnic, because guess what? Majority of them homes back there are meth infested. They are drug infested. And if our kids from here go back there, guess what? You're going to have bigger things on your hand, because these kids is going to be getting hooked up. You're going to have people in the corner. You're going to have them say, hey, bro, you want to come over here? You want to smoke a joint? You know, it's bad enough sometimes that some of these things do happen right here in town. But the eyes and ears of our neighbors, we know well enough if somebody does happen to come in town, somebody new, you know, trying to set our kids up, we're fully aware, and these kids know not to go there. I was also told, and I don't know for a fact if it's true or not, the one lady, she made a great comment about maybe some security here and there. Well, I don't know if it's true or not. Y'all would know. But if some of our schools is getting ready to let go of some of our officers, why not reemploy them and give them some time, extra time, so that they don't have to go to Orange Park or Middleburg? Let them volunteer up here, or even try to work at the park periodically, you know, to try to keep it safe up there. I mean, it's worth it, because then we're going to give another officer a job if they want to take it. We're also going to monitor the kids. But I just think it's just amazing. The other thing that I know that these kids really want, they love fishing. They love fishing. That's where they vent, who gets the bigger fish. You know, why can't we just have like fishing tournaments, even at once a month? And then when you do that, it's so amazing, because once you really get to see these kids in their true element, I'm telling you what, it's amazing. They make me want to cry, because once you get to know them personally. So I know it looks like they might be having havoc up there, or they're cutting up and this and that. Like the other gentleman said, they're kids. Y'all were kids. I was a kid. I was a knucklehead, you know. But at the same time, you know, if you don't have that guidance, and they're looking to one another for guidance. So if anybody had it in their heart, y'all could go up there, maybe just sit. Hey, you know, what are you guys doing over there? Is there something I can do for you? Who wants to go fishing, you know? Something. Get to know these kids instead of judging them, because they got a lot to offer. Most of the kids, they make good grades at school. But guess what? When they get out of school, they're heading to the park because mom and dad's not home, or mom and dad's out of town, or they don't have a mom or dad, or, you know, find it in your heart. We need this here in Keystone. We need the kids to stay right here so we can keep a good eye on them, because from my point of view, the kids that I know down there, there's probably about 8 of them for a fact, and they're teenagers. They've came a long way. I see progress in them. They don't want to cut up. They don't want to get in trouble. But at the same time, they need love. They need mentorship. So I just wish that y'all would find it in your heart to really look out for the kids and not send them behind Hitchcock's. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. I appreciate everyone and your comments.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I had decided to, because we're not, you know, we can individually make comments. Did you guys have comments based on response?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to make it clear that on a Saturday morning several months ago, Congressman Aaron Beam made a phone call to me. And when you have a congressman that has a pocketbook up in Washington that can help us out here in Keystone, and we come up with an idea of a new city hall. It was an idea, guys. It was in a workshop. We discussed it. What I saw on Facebook, and it was just, it made me sick, because everybody just jumps to conclusions. We don't have a plan. One person has even said it's going to cost $1.something million to build this thing. How the heck do you know that? How do you know that? Because we haven't even had a plan. We don't have any sketches. We don't have a plan. But everybody in this community just took off and blasted us for having an idea for the future. You sit down there on that intersection any time of the day and see the traffic that we have in this community. We have 50 homes possibly coming in behind Hitchcock's. And another plot of land on 21 that backs up to Fox Ridge. We have a job to plan for the future. That's all this was a plan, an idea. It wasn't nothing that was sketched in stone. And everybody, word of mouth, I'm almost about this close to getting off of Facebook. Because let me tell you, the past 2 weeks, my blood, you can tell right now, my ears are probably red. Because Facebook just bulls me to death when it comes to getting, and it's not just the city council, it's anything. And not just in this community. There's people that was commenting on stuff that don't even live in the county. But they wanted to give their opinion. That's our right, and I understand that. But all we did as a council on this was to have an idea. We had an opportunity from our congressman that wanted to help us with an idea. What do we need? Okay? With that city hall was not just going to be for what we have right here. We were looking at the possibility, and we weren't even in negotiations with these different agencies as of yet. It was just a thought of having the sheriff's department involved in it. Has anybody been to Fleming Island to the library and see what kind of library they have compared to what we have? It would house a library. That was my idea, to have different departments from the county to the city in one location. Does it have to be right here? No, it doesn't. The idea was, we have a tennis court. People are playing tennis. That tennis court is in bad shape and has been for many years, because what do we have to do? We can't resurface it. We have to tear it completely up, go all the way to the ground, and start fresh. So the idea of moving stuff out there, we're starting fresh. People said, you know, in Facebook about how we're going to destroy what our forefathers wanted, this theme park. Well, I've been here. Do you know what that tennis court replaced? It replaced the baseball field that this community had from way back when. I played on that field. That was a practice field. But they took it down. There's changes. Do I like change in this community since I've lived here for 60 years? No, but it's coming. It's already here. But we as a council, whoever sits in these chairs, needs to plan ahead. Not just 1 year, 5, 10, 20 years down the line. What are we going to do? You guys that are in real estate, it's coming. You know that. And the schools, I mean, they're prepared for what we're going to face in the next 5 to 10 years in this community. I mean, I'm sorry, but I was appalled. But it's the right of the people to voice their opinion. But my thing is, get the facts right. Don't just slam dunk everybody when you don't know what you're talking about. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilman Ledowski?
There were 7 people who spoke today, and I just want to say thank you. It's not easy to stand up at that podium and say what you think. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come and tell us what you think. So I just want to say thank you to those 7 people. I really appreciate it.
We haven't had a crowd like this since the airport issue before, and I appreciate everybody coming in. All the rumors that were discussed on Facebook, and most of them were rumors. And where the double building came up, the 2-story building, where did that come from? I didn't even know about that, and everybody was talking about it on Facebook. I don't even know. I mean, I'm on council, and I hear this stuff first. So, I mean, y'all have every right to speak up. I welcome you every single time we have a council meeting. We like to hear the public's voices. We usually don't have this kind of crowd in here, and we appreciate it. But please, if you want to jump on the rumor mill, I mean, you can, and you have every freedom to do so at this moment. But, you know, try to get your facts straight and learn something from us. Come to the meetings and learn straight from the horse's mouth. Mr. Huebner, may I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Where do you live?
On Mockley Road.
Okay, so you're in the city limits?
Nope, I'm outside the city limits.
Okay,
in
thank
Lake
you.
County.
I recognized your name. Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
Councilman Hart?
There were several people that commented on, I think it's sub 9-75 of the proposed ordinance regarding the parks, and I think you can read that with a little bit of discretion. Prosecution involves discretion of the police officers. Prosecution involves the discretion of the district attorney, state's attorney, whoever's, or in our case, perhaps our city court. I think it's designed more to put some people on notice that if they're going to come down and act up, this is an element that could lead to prosecution. The city philosophy for years, as far as code enforcement, has not been to look for enforcement. It's been to address complaints, and I think you should view it in that light. It's a tough balancing act. I think we need something in the ordinance that gives parents and the young people some reason to have the parents there or the guardian. I am going to be in favor of keeping it in with the thought that it's not going to be strictly enforced. It'll be on a case-by-case basis. We certainly don't want to encourage a 9-year-old from going down to the beach and fishing without a parent. I think that would be ludicrous, and that's not the intent of this ordinance.
That's right.
So.
Thank you. So I also want to address the social media, including newspaper, social media, rumors. I've had multiple citizens reach out to me via email, in-person conversations. So as several have contacted me about their concerns that have been falsely influenced in media, and I'm going to state this as being facts versus fear. First of all, multi-use complex for City Hall. No decisions or plan have been made. Just like Mr. Brown has stated, this was strictly a conversation, a brainstorming opportunity for us during our budget planning meeting in August. If you want to read the details, it is on the city website in the agenda packet. We were seeking an architectural concept for consideration. If we feel this becomes a good decision for our taxpayers, then certainly we are going to share every detail with you all for your input. Just like y'all are sitting here, say, hey, what do you think about this idea? So you can kind of better understand kind of not only where is this going for day one, but maybe 10 years down the road for our city. This would definitely be done in a formal situation. Maybe it's some kind of a, event that we get together and we talk about it openly before we'd make any formal decision. There has been no response to our RFQ that we submitted. That is also public on our website. You can see the date was around the end of September. We did not have an architect respond. And again, it's a very general RFQ. It's like, hey, you see that building over there? We want to build something that looks like that. Tell us what we could put in that building and about kind of ballpark what that might look like. It was just a concept or a thought. So future considerations on that will be to be determined. Sports complex, again, no decision or plan has been made. Only a conversation and brainstorming. We submitted an RFQ for rendering to take a look at all of our parks, not just this back here. Now, this does not include the Pavilion Park at all. It's like Azalea Park, it's these basketball courts and the dilapidated tennis courts that would have to be completely dug up and rebuilt. And then our other parks, take a look at what our current assets are in those parks. What kind of shape are they in? What do we have to do to get them in shape? What kind of cost is associated with that? Let's look at the traffic. Let's look at who uses what, how often, what time did they use it? This person would do that kind of a study to create a vision for us so that we can kind of see what we could or could not do. Our conceptual discussions included new tennis courts and basketball courts and guess what? Splash Park. Anybody heard about Splash Park being discussed for years? I know it's been going on since I've lived here in 6 years. Seems like it comes up every time in some kind of meeting. So we are definitely going to consider a splash park for the kids. This is about our kids. It's not about us, okay? But it is the best use of our resources. Where they're located, things like surveillance, for cameras, for their safety, parking, bathrooms, lighting, all of those types of things go into this type of decision. The Pavilion Park, like I said, park will remain as it is. Dollars for this project have already been identified. So that would be a whole separate fund that would come from. It's not like a tax increase or anything like that. Our goal is that the funds for these projects would be acquired through federal or grants, federal monies or grants, just like Congressman Brown stated. Smart City Digital Twin, OMG. Seriously? We are not Jacksonville, we are not Atlanta, we are Keystone Heights. This is not a 15-minute city. I don't know where that came from. And this is not surveillance with people. We're going to tag and look at people and watch where they're going and where they're driving. I don't know if y'all know lately, but every building you go into, you're on camera. I don't care where it's at. Walmart, doctor's offices, banks, anywhere you go, you're being watched. We don't care about where you're going. This is about us managing. It's a satellite, basically, that manages our capital assets for a more proactive versus reactive response for displaced things like trash cans, broken benches, cracked sidewalks, lighting, drainage issues, captured and documented for planning repairs. Right now, guess what? It's paper maps, and Lynn's incredible team do this by foot. They go seek out, we heard there's a light on this corner. Now we got to go find it. This is a way for us to really identify where these things are so we can get it fixed correctly. It also helps us to do a better job with budget. It's a lot more economical. So we did have a grant that helped us pay for having this done, and then we will pay for the monitoring for it. But it is a huge advantage for us to have something like this for the operation for our city. City manager. In my role as mayor, I have worked very closely with Ms. Rotowski for the past year. She always keeps the best interests of our taxpayers in mind. And I mean underscore their best interests. We get that conversation with her every time we talk to her. What would the taxpayers want? And that really is at the forefront of anything that we talk about or think about. Behind the scenes, she truly is the heartbeat of our city. You all have no idea of the time, the hours that it goes into running a job that literally, it's like having a sprinkler system in your yard that has 25 zones, and you got to hit the water on every single zone every couple of hours. It doesn't even matter when it is, but you got to be that person who's going to be there to make sure it happens. With her and her team, they are the ones that make it happen here for us. It is so unfortunate that negative influencers have attempted to dismantle all the positive things that Mr. Towski has done for every citizen of our community. Our council members are an open-minded group, open-minded council, and we respect all comments by everyone, whether they are positive or negative. And I'm telling you, you want to talk to us in person, you want to talk to us by phone, we are all available. I went and had my minutes with the mayor recently. I only had 3 people show up. That is an opportunity for you to come say, hey, Nana, what the heck's going on with this? And I'll be happy to tell you everything I can tell you. The parks. Okay, we do have a problem with some of the vandalism. Unfortunately, in the country right now, the parks, national parks, are spending over $500 million on vandalism. This is not an isolated problem in our city. That's a huge number. And everybody has the same challenges we have, whether they're big or small. And it does come back to cost. We keep talking about a security guy. Who's going to pay for that? Guess how much that's going to cost y'all? Do you want your tax dollars to go to that? So what I want to do in January, Mr. Towski is working on it with the sheriff's office for me now, because I've heard input from citizens. So what happens to if they get caught? We have those cameras, they get caught. What happens? Do they have to go to jail? Did they get their hands slapped? Oh, y'all don't do nothing about it, do you? Well, that's not true. So she's going to get from me all the arrests that were made, what the crime was, and then I'm going to get the sheriff's office involved, and I'm going to start a task force in January. And I am going to invite citizens to become part of that task force. And I, again, will provide you with facts. What if we do this? What if we do that? We want to look at it from an opportunity that we can fix it. We don't want to have to keep throwing all these rules at it. I don't like this rule about 21. I love our kids here, okay? I want our kids to have fun here. But when you have stuff happening every day, all that list that you see of all the things that are not allowed to be done in that park, I was doing a presentation. They had bicycles and skateboards right up there outside our windows making all kinds of loud noise. I had to go out and ask them to leave. These kids are like at least 19 or 20 years old. And there's something that happens every day. It's an absolute nightmare. I want to show that data with the citizens. I want them to know what happens and what do we do about it. Now, what do we do moving forward? And that will be my task force, and I'm going to research other cities and what they do proactively to try to manage it. You're not going to get rid of it, but we can make it better. And that's really all my comments based on everybody's. And I do appreciate all of you standing up and speaking tonight.
Madam
So
Mayor,
thank
can
you.
I make a couple of
Sure,
quick
yes.
additional comments? Christine, you mentioned you had trouble finding the ordinances. If you go to our website, go to the community tab, you're going to see they're all there. They're all there. You don't have to dig around. So go.
Hit the ordinance button there under governance.
Uh-huh.
There are 3 ordinances there.
No, I don't think you're at the right
Sure.
spot. Try community and go there.
Municipal code.
Yeah,
that website.
yeah, the mini code is
Municode.
there. Is there.
Muni code.
Second comment has to do with the vandalism. This has not been discussed much, but there is a sort of an obscure statute that makes parents personally liable for vandalism to public property, and the fine is very hefty. I don't think that's been enforced as much as it should, but Madam Mayor, you should consider that as part of the package when you research it. The parents can be held liable by statute. That's all I have.
Yes, Mr. Hubner.
I have a question for the Vice Mayor. Does my residence have anything to do with?
Yes. Well, when you come up to the podium, you're supposed to say who you
Okay.
are and where you live.
It's my first time. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay,
That's
so-
fine.
But I want to clarify. If I don't live in the city limits, am I not allowed to voice or have concerns?
Oh,
about what
absolutely
happens?
you are. This is a free country at this
Sure.
time.
Okay.
You're absolutely, I just remember your name on the Facebook thread.
Right, and I
Okay.
want you to make sure you go back and read my original post. I was not the pot stirrer. Most of the people that commented on my post were.
I'm not,
was
I
asking
didn't
a
mean to
simple-
imply that you were.
Okay, that's what I took.
I just
Thank you.
recognized your name.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so moving right along. Are we good, guys? Right?
Yeah?
Okay, excellent. Our first event that we have is for the Rotary Christmas Party. Did you guys take a look at everything? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I move.
Yeah, I'm gonna go too.
Well, before you go, I have to move approval of it, so I move.
Yeah,
approval.
right.
And I second.
Okay, so you second? And can we get a vote on it?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good to go. Okay, so the reading of the ordinance, the first one, and I don't have my computer in front of me, I apologize, my computer's kind of,
3-604.
Oh, and we still have, I'm sorry.
Oh,
did you
Christmas
vote for
party.
the-
we vote on the Rotary
They
Club?
did, they approved
Okay,
it.
Event?
sorry.
Am I good? Did I skip something?
You're good. Nope, you're good.
Okay, so it's
So ma-
ordinance 2023-604 park rules,
Yes.
and I don't have it in front of me.
So you would open if there's a motion
In-
related to
Do I have a
that?
motion?
Move to read by title only.
Okay,
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
any discussion?
Well,
Yes,
let's,
lots of
let's,
discussion.
Yes.
hold on.
Okay.
If, Madam Mayor, if we could just read it by title and then have a discussion, so. Ordinance 2023-604, an ordinance of the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, amending Chapter 9, General Regulations, Article 3, City Recreational Parks, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
And this is the second reading,
Yes.
so this would go to public comment, would it not?
Well, both,
Yeah.
both do, but yes.
Should I start?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start with the easy thing. On page 3, section 6, the second reading is on the 20th day of November, not the 6th. So there's a typo there based upon what was originally supposed to happen. And then 2 specific issues. One is pages 1 and 2, section 2, chapter 9, article 3, section 9-75. Item number 1, it says alcoholic beverages are not permitted. And I know that we have had alcoholic beverages there at a League of Cities dinner.
But
So I looked through the charter to see if there was a waiver process. And I did not see any waiver process at all. And so I was wondering about that. The second thing is item number 8 says to play a radio, tape recorder, or other instrument or device which produces sound that can be heard more than 10 feet. And I know we've had concerts there and movies there and lots of events with sound that goes more than 10 feet. And I asked the question again, do we have a waiver process? In my opinion, -604 is not ready for approval. And I think our comments by our citizens also demonstrate that. So there's some very specific language that I'm not convinced works, especially without any kind of waiver. And the general requirement to have a parent there, I have heard the argument that, well, only if a kid is misbehaving would we really enforce it. And my opinion is what that does is it makes all the good kids out there have to stay away from the park because they're going to follow the rules. And the only kids that are going to show up are the bad kids who don't follow the rules. And they're going to try to get away with it. And so what we're doing is we're rewarding people for not following the rules. And that is not a good way to make it operational. You can't just say, well, only if someone complains are we going to really enforce the rules. We got to find another way to do this. In my opinion. I'm going to vote no on this, and I'm just going to see what happens. But I don't think as written it'll work.
Do you want us to?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
Address that. One, and Councilman Brown can say this because we have this conversation for the past 2 years with the Florida League of Cities Dinner. We do not have we are the only Florida League of Cities Dinner that hosts that does not allow alcohol, and that is a conversation that their board has on an annual basis. So we actually are a dry venue when it comes to the Florida League of Cities Dinner. Now there has been provisions that have been made to the ordinances that council has passed regarding a private event inside the pavilion that the public is not welcome to, or that the public has to RSVP to, such as the chamber event that allows within the pavilion and the pavilion deck only during a private rented event, but is not for the public, and it's not done with the Florida League of Cities Dinner, it's not outside of the pavilion.
Then we should put that
So
in the ordinance.
It's in a different part of the ordinance.
Yes.
However, just so you're aware, there has been discussion by council about allowing for a waiver process, and that, since I've been here, has come up 3 separate times, and it's never passed any of the times.
I do remember that once long ago when I was on council.
As far as the noise, I think we have a specific noise ordinance that would probably overrule this general requirement. It's been on the books for quite some time. I think it provides for decibel readings and that sort of thing. So I think that's addressed in another part of the code. I just haven't.
Where does the code say which ordinance takes precedent?
Well, that would be a legal question.
So the provision that's in, as far as the 10 feet, honestly would probably be unenforceable as being subjective rather than objective, which is why ordinances were rewritten to have the decibel meters.
Right.
So even though we did, when we were looking at this ordinance, we were doing as much as possible to not change what was already there. But you make a good observation. If you want to do something to limit that, we could do that as well.
I would suggest we just strike that provision and let the specific ordinance control.
I'll go back to my statement. I think this needs to be rewritten, and we need to say no to it.
I move we table this ordinance.
Hmm?
I move we table this.
You moved to table it?
Yeah, takes precedence over anything else we're doing.
Okay.
Move we
I'll
table.
second that.
Okay. You get a vote?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay.
Will we bring this back up in January, or do we, any changes, do we need to submit our changes, scratches and whatever we want to do to it before the January meeting or February meeting?
That's up to council, but just understand that with material changes, we'll go back to first reading.
Right.
Go back to what the first reading was, which was the 16 and under, right?
No. We don't revert back. But what happens is when a council makes material changes to an ordinance where you're having public hearings,
Yeah.
you start the public hearing process
Oh, okay.
over at the first hearing. So we would have, based on whatever changes there are, a first hearing and then a subsequent second hearing.
Okay.
And I would think common sense would say that those things that you suggest, Dan, would be material changes. So we go back to square one, talk about it right ab initio, basically.
Okay, so January, we go back and revisit it, and then propose what we want, and then vote on it in February? Is that what you're thinking?
That's a good tentative time.
I mean, thinking
Yeah.
just time-wise, right?
Yeah.
Gives us a little time to look at it
Yeah.
and figure out what we think ought to be.
Well, do you think we should have a workshop?
Or maybe even a
A
workshop.
short workshop where we come together and have all our ideas, how we can,
I think that's not a bad idea. Do that in January?
yeah.
Okay.
So, and I would ask that the
think
sheriff's
it's a bad idea.
department be part of that workshop,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure that it's enforceable. Whatever we come up with needs to be enforceable. I too have been at the beach in instances where older people feel unsafe, families feel unsafe, especially when older people, I mean like 20-year-old somethings, are out there with their foul mouths and they are running around like banshees.
And jumping on the roof.
Yeah, and people don't feel safe at the park. So we got to figure this out. We got to figure out how the sheriff's department can help us, but we have to write a good ordinance that allows the kids to be there and play, but also allows the sheriff's department to enforce it when things get out of hand.
I agree. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll shoot for a workshop in January
Okay.
to go through it and.
I'm
Now-
good with that.
And certainly get the sheriff's office involved, because I want them also very involved when I head up this task force. Because we have to know what we can or cannot do. And I think all of the input that we get is going to be very helpful.
Can we expand the subject of the workshop to vandalism in general,
Good? Good
rather
make it-
than being narrowly confined to this particular ordinance?
Right. Good.
That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah, because I want to start looking at citizens who want to be
Yeah.
involved in it to help us
Because
figure
otherwise,
out.
this could just end up being a Band-Aid.
Right. And that way we have more skin in the game. Okay, that's good. So we can move on to the next one, correct? All right, the next one is ordinance 2023-605, I believe.
Make a
Charter
motion-
amendments.
I make a motion, we read by title.
Second.
Ordinance 2023-605, an ordinance to place a proposed amendment on the next general election ballot, amending Section 68 of the Charter for the City of Keystone Heights to remove the seat of the Florida National Guard and add a city seat, providing for an effective date of January 1st, 2025.
Move approval.
I second.
Okay, all vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, moving right along. Next is our appointments for Planning and Zoning Board. We have 2 vacancies. Mr. Elston Kussler and also Mr. Ryan Knight.
I make a motion, we accept these 2 applicants for the planning and zoning.
I will second that.
Okay, may I get a vote?
Can we have a discussion real quick?
Sure.
Can you explain to me what does it mean, consideration of moving Mr. John Cesar's appointment effective? What does that mean?
At the time, there wasn't anticipation of any planning and zoning issues to become for the rest of this calendar year, and due to reporting, reporting ends up on the calendar year, so it was requested that council make his appointment effective January 1st of 2024. However, there are 2 applications that planning and zoning will need to hear this calendar year, so therefore we're asking for him to be appointed to the planning and zoning board now, move his appointment effective today. That way he can be a part of the planning and zoning board as they move forward with this.
So they're all 3 together.
I see.
Yeah.
Ah, that's what that
We
means.
were just, it was just
Okay.
kind of pushed out.
This is,
Okay.
this is just housekeeping, basically.
Yeah.
Yes,
Housekeeping.
it's a lot
That's a
of,
separate motion than
Okay,
great.
okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
So did we get a vote for our 2 new members?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yeah, welcome. I'm looking forward to these guys working together. I think it's going to be a great group of folks there. Okay, on our consent agenda.
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
We took the motion to appoint the new members. However, we haven't had the motion to change the effective date
Oh,
for.
okay. Sorry.
I'll move that we move John's effective date to today, November 20.
I'll second.
Okay, vote.
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Consent agenda. So have y'all been able to look at the financials, payables, and our minutes? Inside this agenda pack is the October 2nd council meeting, the minutes from that meeting. October 23rd, the special council meeting that was held, and the council workshop. Just to note, and I'm not saying that maybe we want to look at changing up our website just a bit to make it a little more intuitive, because I am looking at other cities and how they manage their websites for a similar size city, is currently our minutes. So we have our meetings, and the minutes are being recorded via live video, recorded video, and then those minutes are typed up and put out there. Once we have, well, first of all, when we have this meeting today, those minutes get typed up and they are included in next month's packet. Once that packet becomes available, or once we have the agenda available. Once we look at these minutes here, they're in the packet right now, the ones from these meetings I mentioned, they're in the packet right now, but they don't go to where that little minutes icon is on the website until we have approved them as we're sitting right now. Does that make sense? So you could.
But there are no minutes ever in that column, that's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there are. There's a time lapse, John, like about a month almost, or 3 weeks, because of the timing of our meetings, okay? So I'm going to personally explore other ways to get things maybe a little more obvious, is the word I'll use for now. I need to learn a little bit more about it. I also know what the law is with sunshine. I've come through the statutes back and forth, and we are complying because that man right there will not let us do anything different, okay? I can promise you that.
Well, the statute doesn't say they have to be on the website.
No.
No, it does not. And actually, the agenda doesn't have to be there till whenever, within 5 days, if we choose to do it. It's whatever is convenient, although 7 is recommended.
There's
So-
actually not even a day number. The law says a reasonable amount
Reasonable
of time.
time, that's correct.
Yeah, and I know, I'm sorry, but we go back and forth, but to help with the rumors, we have to be synchronized on, what you guys do and what we,
I understand.
see, so,
I will agree that
it's
it's not real intuitive, okay? Can we do a little better? I think we probably can, okay? So moving forward, but I want to make sure you all understand, the information is out there. It is there, okay? So we will look at some of that moving forward.
City Attorney, would it be possible to post tentative minutes subject to council approval at an earlier date? I mean, that's not required by statute. You're absolutely correct that the statute is pretty much wide open, and I'm a member of the same section that you are in the Florida Bar, so.
The council can make whatever decision you deem appropriate for your city. From my other clients, generally they don't want to do that in case there's an amendment to the minutes.
Okay.
And oftentimes that amendment, without the amendment, it could lead to misinformation that's put out to the public.
Sure.
Or misunderstanding.
So your opinion would be that's not the brightest idea?
Traditionally, minutes are then published after they're approved
after the fact.
by the council.
And that's the way we're doing it now.
Right.
So for the financials, and I have two questions that I just don't understand. On the general fund income expenses versus budget report, page 1, near the bottom, item 574100 is the 2025 centennial celebration. And I love the fact that we're already getting ready for that. Next year, I should say 2 years from now, it's going to be great. But we spent $1,500. I'm wondering what we bought or what we paid for with $1,500.
Can I fill in some blanks here? There's a separate freestanding corporation that I set up that is operational. It has a board, it has officers. We meet on a regular basis, and basically that corporation, the Friends of Keystone Heights Incorporated, is planning the centennial and some other things. The $1,500 is a gesture by the city to help with basically funding most of the money from this event or series of events will come from private financing. This corporation is not directly or indirectly affiliated with the city. The $1,500 is basically seed money.
Okay, thank you. My second question is at the bottom of page 2, the same report, top of page 3, there's a PTO credit and a PTO debit, and they cancel each other out, but it's a huge amount of money. It's $52,000. What is that all about?
That's for staff vacation and sick leave, and so they cancel each other out because as staff accrues vacation, then it gets banked, and then as they take it, then it's utilized, and so that for auditing purposes, those numbers will always be the same, but it's what we have versus what we take.
Thank you. For the October 2nd minutes, I think there's 2 typos. It's no big deal. But item number 6 on the committee reports and recommendations, letter C talks about the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Just add an S, please. And then item number 9, the city manager report. City is spelled C-I-I-T-Y. Just, again, 2 typos. I got one more, if that's okay? Okay. The 23rd, October 23rd, workshop meeting minutes. There were presenters, and item number 4 was about the Museum and Heritage Committee, and there was a Deidre Murray listed. Is that Deidre Murphy?
Yes.
Yes.
That's her lookalike.
Well, then can we correct her name, please, in the minutes? She's not Murray, she's Murphy. That's all the typos or comments I had.
Did we vote on our consent agenda? I'm trying to remember.
I have moved that we approve the consent agenda with the modifications as suggested.
Okay.
Second?
Vote?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, to city business. We have a city manager position that is going to be open. And we included in our packet the job description, which we have all gone and looked at. The current job description that was from 2015, I believe. I don't have my computer tonight, I apologize. But we were asked also to incorporate, yes, 2015, to incorporate any new things to be added to the position. I think each one of us did send in information separately, of course, that got incorporated into the new job description. Also, the timeline, I believe Ms. Rotowski, her letter of resignation states January 10th is the time for her to resign. We are going to launch a nationwide search for this position. We have to agree on a pay range, and I do want to take a step back because I caught a fair amount of attitude about me pitching the $100,000 salary. I am new to this type of business, okay? I've been in other types of business, corporate business, but not city government operations. So I literally just looked locally kind of what current city manager positions were. And the one I mentioned was this Palaca position that was advertising for $120,000 a year. Now, mind you, I know that's 10,000 people. They have city works and other responsibilities. It's a little different situation. So yeah, we have to take a little dial back. In considering what Ms. Rotowski's salary is, right around $67,000 to $69,000 a year, you know, I had to look at 11 years of experience, all the different things the role includes, and then what we may be looking for is either, you know, formal education, a city manager certification carries weight. So I took a step back and I did some additional research. On top of that, thank you, Mr. Lewandowski, because he went a different route than me with his research. Now, this is all in our packet if you all care to take a look at it. But it's really good to know. It's through the Florida League of Cities, and he can certainly explain to you how he came up with his range for salary. I took a different approach. I was really pleased, too, the way it turned out. I looked nationwide for demographics of our size, same job responsibility, same type of budgetary oversight, all of that. And I did come up with 4 cities that I identified that really kind of met the criteria. And I can share that information if anybody wants to see it, the job description to the amount of the budget they have per year, their population, all of that. And every one of these were under 2,000 in population. One of them actually being only 430 residents in Oregon. So my average salary for the low came out to around $71,750 and a top salary of $86,500, meaning they've got all the horns and whistles that we're looking for. And I think that's pretty close to what you discovered as well. And it was great. He took cities in Florida of similar size, responsibility, municipalities just like ours, and look at what their current city managers are making. You have to remember when Mr. Towski was hired, this was before COVID or around COVID time, and there's been a lot of changes, certainly with inflation and everything that's gone on. And plus she just had like cost of living increase. So we have to be real here. And I think in order to recruit the right professional that we think is a fit for our city and the way we operate, we've got to make that first person feel loved, you know? And I think that will come down to when we do the interviews once we start things going. So do we need to vote on any of that tonight, on what it might look like?
Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, sure.
Sequentially, I think we have to look at the qualifications. That's a separate issue.
Yeah.
And then we'll look at salary. The exhibit that you have, city manager qualification, basically is the existing qualifications with some additions that I made, primarily to make the cohort that we can select from a little broader. For example, adding accounting background is a possibility, adding corporate background is a possibility to look at, looking at military background. In other words, we may find a super manager who has not had a lot of city experience, but a lot of real world experience. For example, our prior city manager would fit that bill. So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be inadvertently ruling out a whole set of qualified people. Obviously, we want somebody with managerial experience on the city level, but if we don't find someone that doesn't quite fit the bill, perhaps we could look at other skills. So that's the purpose of my suggested changes, and I would move approval of that particular document with the changes.
I know I added a few things as well. I'm sure you guys probably did this. I'm assuming, I don't know.
I think that job description will work great.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask was, we had a task from our last meeting to all submit a pay or salary range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that in the packet. I'm wondering what each council member suggested as a range. I've heard the mayor say roughly 71 to 86.
Did I submit that? I think I did.
So
I don't
what
remember.
you have in your packets, and there's some sheets in there from Councilman Hart. This is what I received at the time that packets were produced. So there's some information in there from the input that I received. What is needed tonight, if you council decides to move forward with their search, which I strongly urge you to do so, is one, is this job description sufficient? Is that what you would like to be posted? And then two, a salary range so that it can be advertised, so that it can go out nationwide and we can start recruiting. And then also when you would like to have resumes back by, so that that can be in the ad as well.
And just for clarification, you did a superb job of going to the source, the league. So did I. Mine wasn't nearly as thorough as yours, but I did list some of the cities and the ranges, and then I adjusted for inflation. So that's the first document you'll see in your packet. I came up with a sister city cohort that looked like it probably would be a decent match for consideration. That's the city of Hawthorne. It's nearby.
Yeah.
Approximately the same population. Adjusting for inflation, their current managerial salary would be about $86,000. I would suggest that could be maybe the median between the low and the high that we would offer. And that would be consistent with the mayor's suggestion of roughly $72,000 as the base. I don't recall what the high number was.
I think I said around 86.5.
Which would be consistent with Hawthorne right now,
Mhm.
and they have an experienced city manager.
Right.
So that would be my analysis, it's very similar to yours. You had some things in there considering the workload of the manager if you have a clerk. We don't have an experienced clerk. We will have at some point, but right now we will have a rookie who probably will not be a lot of help to the city manager. So I think that is a good thing to think about, but I think it's probably premature. I think I would just take the city manager position as a standalone, look at the other cities, what they offer as services, how many employees, and Hawthorne seems to be a perfect match. And that's why I mentioned Hawthorne. The fact that they only have a cemetery, playing fields, senior citizen center, water, a wastewater, and storm. They don't have a police department. They don't have a fire department. So I would think that would be a reasonable starting point at looking what a salary for an experienced person would be roughly $86,000. So that would be the midpoint of what I would suggest as a range.
So we need to come up with a range.
Yep.
Okay, and what I didn't see was in my email to the city manager, I suggested a range, but I did not put it on my slides. And it's not in the data packet. I did not want to influence anyone with
Yeah, and
what
I
I
sent mine as
suggested.
an email as well.
Right.
So
So
separately from all of you.
my range was between 60 and 90K. And I think there are a ton of variables. And so, and I think one of the questions we should ask is what salary do they think they want? You know, because if we have, as my mother-in-law has suggested to me, if we have a retiree who wants to come in and already has all their benefits and everything like that, just wants to help out the city for 60K, I think that should be part of the interview process.
And that was actually part of the Cornegay discussion when he was hired. He already was financially, we thought, pretty well set. The money wasn't his option. He wanted to serve. He was local. And he had other experience other than city, but he was a good fit managerial. So that's why, basically, boiling it down, why he was hired, how he got hired. Money was secondary. But we can't assume that the person we're going to look at is going to be a retired person, but that would be ideal if we could find somebody.
Right, so that's why I have such a large range, from 60K to 90K. Because if we can't find that perfect person, maybe we need to have a nationwide search, just like the mayor
I
has
think we need a
suggested.
nationwide search,
You know,
personally.
but we have to keep it Florida, and I think 90K, that'll be tough for residents of the city to swallow, but maybe.
Everything's gone up. And I
Yeah.
worked for the government for 30 years, and
Yep.
I never made that kind of money.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, I think it comes back to who are going to be the applicants. And, we're getting ready to go through it with our city clerk role. We just went through it with the airport. We hired an outstanding individual, and he's a nationwide search. Had a ton of people, fair amount, that were local, but Mr. Kuhn was our right guy, who's in our crowd tonight. And he was the perfect fit, bringing the outside influence in. I'm not saying that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm just saying we need to see what kind of candidates we get. We don't know. And it's going to be interesting, It was interesting with the whole airport experience. We learned a lot. And I'm anxious to see how the city clerk experience goes as well. So I do believe, in all fairness, and the way we want to do this certainly is in a non-biased way. And the way we are going to do the clerk position, in looking at the questions we ask, so they get asked the same questions that we've developed, and we grade those responses. And it's actually a really good way to do it, because it makes you avoid favoritism. Because in a small town, you get locals apply. I really like that guy, and I feel bad if we don't pick him. We don't want that to happen. We want what's right for the taxpayers of the city and with our needs that we have. And that's really the idea, the mindset that we need to have. So do you all want to decide so we can go ahead? I'm okay with the job description as it is. My personal thing is around 72 to 86,000. That's just my feelings, because Mr. Towski's already around 69,000.
Just as a point of order, I have made a motion to adopt the qualifications with the modifications
Yes.
as shown in the package. I don't think there's been a second.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, got a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got that, get done.
okay.
Then the second consideration, of course, is salary range.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we make a salary range from 60,000 to 90,000. No second.
I would say 60 to 90, or 65 to 90. Starting. That would be the lower end, depending on experience and the person that we choose.
So my motion dies. Do we have a new motion?
You made a motion for 65 to 90?
Yes.
All right, I'll second that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Now we need a timeline.
Yes.
I
So,
just need a date on when you would like resumes to be back by.
okay.
So if I may do a suggestion, is open it up for 30 days. We'll have the advertisement because it's Thanksgiving. We'll have the advertisement posted November 30th and have everything back by January. Because of the holidays, I want to make it January 1st.
Just do December 30th.
Then we'll have everything back by December 30th, and that'll leave a 30-day window to advertise on all of our outlets and can see who we get. Is that sufficient for council?
And then that way we'd be able to review applicants January 1st.
At the January
Meeting.
8th will be your council meeting in January.
As a practical matter, if you're leaving January 10th, where does that leave us maybe with a rookie clerk and no managerial experience?
Well, that would be up to us to who we hire as a clerk.
And as an
True, true.
Okay.
Would you consider extending that beyond January 10th?
Not at this time.
I would like to move our timeline up there.
I'd like to go to December 15th and have a special meeting.
Have the applicants through to December 15th?
That would be my suggestion, yeah. We have to accelerate this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
Agree.
I agree with that.
I don't know what day of the week, if that's a weekday or what. but Friday.
Friday.
Okay, Friday, December 15th.
Let's, yeah, I agree with that.
And then we
And
can
then that
sneak in
way-
a special meeting.
And we can have a special meeting and review the applications and then be
Yep.
able to have a little more time.
Exactly.
So I'll move that all applicants must submit by midnight on Friday, December 15th.
As far as, well, I'll second that.
Okay, get a vote?
Aye.
Okay.
What particular format would we encourage them to, would there be an application form? Council, do you have a form available that you've used that's, no?
No, the city has a form that you've
city.
used for employment
Just
applications,
like we
but
use for city clerk.
For the clerk and modify it
Right.
for manager, okay.
And they can attach a resume.
Yeah, well, they need
Yeah,
to.
you're looking for a resume. If you have an applicant who's just turning in an application without a resume, then you probably don't want to just talk to that applicant.
So they need an app, a cover letter, and a resume.
Yes.
Right.
So I made a phone call down to the Florida League of Cities. They have a special organization called the Florida City Clerk, City Manager, something or other section. And they have senior advisors. There's a particular gentleman, I forget his name, out of Orange Park who was a city manager for 30 years plus. And he is willing to advise us in the process of hiring a city clerk and or a city manager. And what I do is I submit to the council here, do we want to ask this very senior person from Port Orange to help us, or do we just want to go on our own?
On an as-needed basis, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. And I kind of know the guy. He's very experienced, very good guy.
We did that
Yeah.
when we first started with a city manager form of government.
Mhm.
We did that. We had a very talented man that had been in the business of city management for years, and he helped us out tremendously.
So I would suggest we make a contact with the gentleman and give him the situation and ask him if he would be interested in filling in the event we can't get this phase done in time by January 10.
Okay.
Perhaps the city attorney can make that contact.
I'd like to comment.
Sure.
Make a comment.
Yeah.
To people in the gallery here, all the citizens, all these meetings are open and to the public. You're free to come to any one you want and listen in. I just wanted you to know that we're not keeping anything, we're not doing anything behind closed doors. Everything we do is in the public eye. I just wanted to
Yeah,
comment.
so when we do these interviews, we get ready to do the city clerk interview, it will be open to the public.
Mhm.
So that's pretty tough for that applicant.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, and Mr. Kuhn could comment, we kind of figured, we didn't know either when we hired airport manager recently, and the authority was very deeply involved. We had a workshop with Lynn and myself representing, working with that team there, and we came up with a very systematic way of interviewing, and it came down to evaluating their resumes and the information they sent in, and picking out keywords. That's how I did it, to grade them based on what's on paper. I don't know who any of these people are. And then when they interview, we ask each of them to identify a few questions specific, like we're going to do with the clerks, applicants, questions that they would like the interviewee to be asked. Each person gets asked the same question, in all fairness, so we could sit back and just listen to them talk while a moderator asks the question. Then that way we can grade, keeping an open mind, not getting a little confused when people start talking, right? So really you're able to sit there and grade on their response. And then you can also ask additional if you decide to go deeper with a question. In the beginning, they tell us a little bit about themselves, and at the end, they ask us any questions they may have. And then we graded that interview, and then that's how we made our decision. And I'll tell you right now, it was really, really something, because every one of us did pick the same guy, and all for the right reasons, okay? And that's what we want to do here. We want to pick the right guy for the right reasons. And this process system allows that to happen. And certainly I appreciate anyone coming in who has the expertise to kind of guide us to see, maybe they can be part of that workshop we do in December, where we're trying to figure out the format and how we want to go about the interviews.
There's an intermediate step I think we have to consider. We can get together and we can cull through 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, or we can have a process to cull through initially and winnow it down to a few that clearly are in the running.
Sure.
We could do it either way. If we're going to do a winnowing process, we have to come up with a way to do it.
Yeah, it has to be what's fair.
Yeah,
whatever
well,
we do.
and that should probably be done in open session. So I guess my vote would be to do the winnowing at the open session that we're going to have.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's kind of what we did too.
Okay.
Almost exactly what we did.
All right.
Okay, we have a timeline, so, and we'll do a workshop and maybe invite this gentleman you're talking about.
Okay, so do we need to select a date then? It'll have to be after December 15th, but like the next week.
Probably the next week.
Yeah, select a date there for us to have this workshop?
Yep, 15th, so 18, 19, 20. I'm wide open.
Well, the 15th is a
Friday.
Friday. We could do it on the following Monday, could we not? Because we'd have all the resumes in. 18th.
Yep, I'm good with Monday, the 18th.
Now, understand, council, that you'll be seeing your resumes for the first time on the 18th at this meeting. You will not have, because if they have until the 15th at midnight,
Oh, yeah.
you will not have
Oh,
those resumes
To be
until
able to
Monday.
evaluate those before we,
That's what it needs to be.
For my schedule, I prefer the 20th, Wednesday the 20th. Would that work?
yeah, give us a couple of days to look at the resumes.
And you could
I'm
send
okay
out-
with the 20th also. I'd rather have a
Okay.
couple of days to look at the resumes
Yeah,
first,
me too.
because I don't want to just walk in blindly and have the discussion.
Postmarked by December 15th. If it's snail mailed
That would be a
electronically,
workshop.
no?
Oh, yeah.
Your vote was received by midnight, December 15th. There was
Received,
no,
okay,
there was no postmark by.
okay.
What time do y'all want to do this workshop?
I'm open.
I'm open to
I'm
it.
open.
Morning is usually the
Brown?
best.
I'm flexible.
You are, okay. 10 o'clock,
That sounds great.
10 a.m.
All right.
10 a.m., okay.
Also, guys, come on and join us, because it is open to the public. You'll get to see how this
Please
goes
do.
down. Yeah, we'd love it to have you here.
I'd rather you be here and talk to
And
us
know what
in
we're
person
talking about doing.
than read it on Facebook.
Yeah, we would absolutely prefer that.
Get
Okay,
it straight here.
got a lot going on there. That's great. Okay. Moving right along. We don't need to vote anything, right, to do this? We're good, right? Again, the city clerk update is, November 28th, Tuesday, I believe it's 10 o'clock. No, it's, what
1
time?
o'clock.
1 o'clock, I'm sorry. We will be interviewing 4 individuals that we've already seen their resumes. We've already selected, there were 7, I believe, and we picked 4, okay? And they will be coming, and they have timely interviews, like hour apart, where we will conduct those questions like we said, and then we will have a workshop at the end, and then once we select, then we get get Rich involved in looking at contractual agreement to the salary and things like that, so we can enter agreement with that person and move forward. So it's going to happen rather quickly. Any questions about that? You all good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Next is the 2023 City CRA Audit Letter of Engagement. And I don't have my computer in front of me. Ms. Lynn?
Yes, Madam Mayor, in your packets, you have received our 2023 letter of engagement from our auditor, Mr. Brad Millian from Reddish and White. This year, there is a potential audit for both CRA and our several accounts that we have within our general fund, our cemetery, CIP, with a combined cost of $47,500. This also includes the third party that is between our staff, which includes Ms. Rebecca Williams and the auditor. Those of you who were here last year, Mr. Millie went into great detail on that separation that's needed, and so these letters are not to exceed the total cost of $47,500 for our annual audit.
And this does not include the audit for the airport, correct?
That's correct. This is just for our accounts.
Okay.
I think we've had a good professional relationship with Mr. Million. I think he's given us some very helpful ideas as to how to keep things the way they should be. I would move that we approve his letter of employment.
I'll second.
Okay, you get a vote?
Can we just,
Or
can I
you
ask a
wanna talk
question?
about
Mm-hmm.
Who is the governance signature on this? Who signs
Our
it?
mayor.
The mayor is.
Okay, so you're gonna sign it?
You did.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we voted? Yes, all of us, correct?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good to go. Next, the Heritage Commission's museum requests.
Just a question, we passed over kind of the city manager letter of resignation. Was there like no discussion on that?
That was handled with the agenda item at the top.
If you want discussion.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure.
I mentioned it when I was talking about the position.
Okay,
It's going to come up in January 10th.
okay, sorry.
That's okay. Next is the Heritage Commission's museum request.
This was put on the agenda, the council wanted to have conversations about placement of the museum, and we wanted to have a museum and things of that nature that came out of our last meeting.
Good evening. Deirdre Murphy, a co-chair of the Keystone Heights Heritage Commission. At our last discussion, I asked all of you at the workshop if you did want a museum, and it was a resounding yes. And so we are meeting tomorrow, the Heritage Commission. We haven't had an opportunity to meet since that last discussion. And so we will be discussing this tomorrow to see how, as a group, we want to move forward. I know one of the items was to have a contractor give us a quote, and we will need a commercial contractor, and hopefully a commercial contractor that has worked with city government. I think that's the direction that I think we need to go to get an accurate appraisal, if you will, of what the costs might be to have a standalone building. So we will be discussing this at our meeting tomorrow, so I don't really have anything for you tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next is the fishing pier update.
Can we come back to that?
Yes. Okay, you mean to the museum request?
No, to the fishing pier.
Oh, okay. To wait for her to come back? Okay,
No,
gotcha.
go on to other stuff.
Okay, the committee recommendations, budget and finance. I think these are Lynn's things that she talks to, right?
But we haven't
Okay.
had a budget meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
so that's
Okay.
nothing on that. Growth management either, correct?
Yeah, no report on growth management.
And then Keystone Heights Airport Authority. Mr. Kuhn,
Good evening.
good evening.
Good to see you all again. I think I'm finally starting to come up for air a little bit after the last.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. It's just how it works. Just wanted to give some quick updates to projects that are taking place. Our self-serve fuel terminal is been ordered, and we're getting everything lined up, just waiting on a delivery date for that. Very important piece. Really, it's been so bad that if you look at it the wrong way or breathe on it the wrong way, it just decides not to work. And transient aircraft that pass through the area, if they don't know if they can get fuel or not, they just keep going. So this will be a very important project to get done. Also, we have the Florida DOT added another $200,000 for a total of $400,000 for generator projects. So we're going to have 3 generators, would say within the next 2 years, that will power the terminal building, the fuel facilities, and the runway lights. So if we have a complete outage, we should be fully operational if all goes to plan. Also, we have our runway lighting project for 1129 that's fully underway. I think we're probably at least halfway done with that project. So should be done by middle of December, assuming that we have all the materials. There's been some delays in receiving those, but we should have those by the end of the month. Also wanted to report that we did make an appropriations request with Senator Bradley and Representative Brannon to fund the Highway 100 infrastructure improvements around the airport entrance area. And that'll add turn lanes and deceleration lanes right in that section, along with the new airport entrance road that's yet to be connected and our current one. So we're hopeful that we'll get a good response out of that. And lastly, certainly not least, the Keystone Heights Airport Authority and the staff did want to extend our respects and condolences to the Valentine family for their recent loss. That's all I have.
Just a conceptual question. Could this also involve a frontage road eventually for further development? I don't know where I read that, John.
It is part of the project
that
will connect the new road to the new airport access road to the existing airport access road.
There'd be basically a frontage road that
Yes.
was set back
And that would
for
be for
development
commercial
in
development.
front between the highway and the frontage road.
Correct.
Is that the thing?
Correct.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
That's all part of the appropriations request.
Thank you.
Can we go back to the fishing pier?
Fish and Pier update.
I met with Ms. Vivian Katz-James earlier this month. She sat down, requested, or had conversations about exactly what was requested of council. She settled on a timeline of that she will have the RFP or the qualifications, the request for the dock, the specific build for the dock, submitted to the city by January, and then hopes to start that timeline in January. So a less aggressive approach than what was originally stated.
Okay, thank you. Next is planning and zoning.
I want to thank council for appointing our members and then moving up the timeline on another member. We'll be looking at having a planning and zoning meeting, and it will either be the 4th or the 11th, depending on availability of applicants and our zoning board, but they will be hearing 2 applications. One is a request for a split lot or new lot dimensions, and the other one is a use by exception for a self-storage unit within the commercial district.
Okay, thanks. Heritage Commission. We're doing good, it's almost 7:30.
It doesn't feel like it. It's too dark. Okay, let's see. Boo on the Boulevard was great. Was our first time doing it. And hopefully, this year we've started a few extra things. I think, Nina, when you were president, you started this trend where we're more active. So we've had, this is new, and hopefully it'll be better next year. But we all had a great time. We have our wreath, our commission meeting tomorrow, but then our wreath making. We've got 10 new wreaths we've got to make and then deliver to the community, this is our second year doing that. Then we have, let's see, the 2nd of December is our member appreciation, our associate member appreciation luncheon. And we're all volunteers here. Every single one of us donate our time. Keystone runs on volunteers. And with the more active agenda that the Heritage Commission is doing as for public awareness, we really need our volunteers, and we value them. We really do value them. We couldn't do what we're doing without them. But also we're adding, because we like a twofer, with our luncheon, we're beginning our network with the local heritage commissions and societies. So we've gotten a good response. We're going to have delegations from Orange Park, Palatka, Penny Farms, and Clay County.
Great.
So hopefully next year we'll have more, but to stay in constant contact and network, because we all have similar issues and we can share resources. Let's see, Heritage Commission Christmas party, the 16th at Palmetto Cottage, 6 o'clock. You all are invited, as well as spouses. We'll have the Heritage Commission and then also just active members in the community, kind of like the Boo on the Boulevard party. And that's it.
Great.
Oh, no meeting in December, because we're busy enough.
Thanks. All right, moving along. Council comments. Councilman Hurt.
Councilman Brown and I had the honor of attending the Gary Cooper Memorial dedication a couple of weeks ago. It was a very moving ceremony. I, of course, didn't know Mr. Cooper. Tony, I don't know if you knew him or not, but there were several people there who did, and he was a very integral part of the community, an athlete, military hero, and sort of an icon in the city. And it was an honor to be invited and go.
Thanks. Vice Mayor Thompson?
I spoke at the Veterans Day ceremony behind the City Hall here. It was a very nice ceremony, well attended. Enjoyed myself.
Great. Mr. Ladowski?
Thank you to all who worked for Boo on the Boulevard. I've heard nothing but good comments about it. So I appreciate you doing all that work to make that happen for the kids. The February meeting, I'm going to have to miss, or it has to be rescheduled. I'm sorry. I'm coaching an astronaut team, and my team has made the state championships. And so it's a 3-day event at the Kennedy Space Center. So I'll be taking my kids down there, and we go down Sunday night. We don't go back till Wednesday night. So I'll just, if we do it the first Monday in February, I can't be here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And then lastly, I attended the funeral of Adrian Valentine this morning. He was one of my Boy Scouts when I was assistant scoutmaster. And it's just sad.
Yeah, very sad. Mr. Brown?
I went to the elementary school on Veterans Day, where the day they had all the veterans, and the ROTC program was doing a great presentation. They went all the way back to the Revolution, I believe. I was late getting there, so I saw some people dressed up like in Revolution stuff. So they started in Revolution and went through all the wars that this country's been in, and to see some of the veterans, and a group of us from the Gary Cooper committee were there, and to see the veterans, be able to stand up and pass the flag with the ROTC and all the kids. And the biggest thing was sitting there and watching across that old basketball court and watching the kids, the little kids, stand up and salute. Not just put their hand over their heart, but they saluted when these veterans and the flag was going. That's touching. And then we went out to the memorial, which this Friday we're having a ceremony there for the alumni and for the family and for the people that are part of that. And if you get a chance, go by and look at the memorial. Go by in the daytime. Go by at night. The lights on the flag and the lights on the monuments is just is breathtaking for Mr. Cooper. Another thing is we lost a very dear friend of this city a week or so ago, or about a week ago, Benton Fudge. And when I was on the council when the city took over the cemetery. Many a days that we stood out there with his book that he had everything in there. And he knew where every barrel was and everything. But he passed away, and his service is this Wednesday. I messed up. I thought it was last Wednesday. I went over there, and there wasn't nobody there. But anyhow, it's this Wednesday at the service is at 11 o'clock at Jones Gallagher Funeral Home. If any of the council and staff would like to go, but he was I don't think this city could have done that cemetery without him. To be honest with you, he was very knowledgeable of everything. So that's all I have.
I've been kind of busy. I attended Mayor Jamie Watts from Malacca. He's running for District 20 House of Representatives. He had a meet and greet recently here at Cedar River. Great guy. I met him through the League of Mayors. Great chatting with him because he has small town and small town challenges. So I learn a lot every time I'm around him. Also attended the Keystone Heights High School Partnership Tour. And it's kind of to understand what they do for the kids there, from everything from psychological help to all the different things that they have a store there where they can go buy things if they get awards throughout the week, and how the teachers acknowledge them. Also the area where you can donate clothes and things that they give away to folks in town in need. I was at the Pace Middleburg, just had the ribbon cutting ceremony, so I got to have a tour with that. Senator Jennifer Bradley was very, very involved in getting that put together and kind of spearheading it. Also, I was able to do their pumpkin painting, be their judge for their pumpkin painting contest. Attended the Clay County Legislature delegation meeting, which I've never been to before. That was rather interesting with Senator Bradley, also Congressman Payne, and Congressman Garrison. We're sitting at the dais to take in what county citizens are asking for, things like, and even city representatives. I, of course, had my thing where I hosted Minutes with the Mayor. I'm hoping to have a bigger turnout the next time for an opportunity, just like we're having today, where you can come and we can chat interactively one-on-one in a crowd. It makes it a little more challenging. We have our meetings like this to do that. We attended, several of us attended the Florida League of Cities monthly meeting there at St. Augustine Beach a few weeks ago. And again, it's partnering with other cities and the counties and learning how do they do things. And there's always public speakers who share ideas and things that are going on not only in the county but maybe in the state. Hosted a booth last week at the Reality Check here at the high school. That was a really cool event. My husband and I attended that, and I thought it was just such a great way to teach kids what it's all about. And I did the retirement thing. I kind of fit in with the white hair. And they say to me, I just want to retire. What do I need to do? They hadn't even got a job yet, it was hilarious. I'm serious. They were like, just sign me up. I want that plan right there, I'm like, no, sorry. And I think, Lynn, I sold your son his furniture for his first place, for Jacob. And then I presented at the Rotary Club. They very graciously invited me to their meeting, guess it was last week, and had a really great time meeting with all of them and giving them a little bit of a 6-month update. And I will be going to the Florida League of Mayors meeting in Orlando next week for a 2-day meeting. That's it for me for this month. Thanks, everybody, though, for tonight and all your input. Next, we have our Sheriff's Office. Chief Clark, he's not here. So did you guys want to, we certainly appreciate you all being here with
Yes,
us
we do.
tonight.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And everything that you do for us. Did you have any updates you want to share at all? So I kind of put you on the spot, didn't I? Sorry about that. Ms. Ratowski?
I have nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Commando?
I just hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, we wish everyone the same. I know, I can't believe it's just a couple of days away. Thanks again, everyone, for being here tonight, and y'all have a great, great Thanksgiving weekend.